Hey there, Fletch from All Things Overlanding here, and today I'm going to be talking about a new piece of Hest gear that I picked up, which is their Double Comforter. Now, if you've watched my channel before, you know that I've got a Hest Foamy Wide, which is a 30-inch wide, 4-inch thick, memory foam mattress, no inflating, no dealing with air pumps, anything like that. And then I've also got their folding pillow, which folds down super small, but it folds out to a full-size pillow and is super comfy. So, you know, Hest is known for their high quality, and they're also known for defeating discomfort, I think is what they call it. It makes it super comfy for you to sleep. And one of the biggest things when you're out overlanding or camping, especially for multiple days at a time, is that you're away from your bed, right? You're not going to sleep quite as good. But with Hest stuff, that changes everything. So again, I decided to go with their Double Comforter for a few reasons. I'm going to kind of walk you through the specs and the features of this thing so that you see why. But again, the Hest stuff that I've had is just so good. It is a little bit on the expensive side, but it's worth it. You could spend a ton of money on a bunch of crappier gear that's not going to last as long or not be as comfortable, or you could just buy once, cry once, and get the best of the best, and you're set. So let's get into the Hest Double Comforter.
Understand where it came from, but you got it, my got it. It began in the land of the sandstorm. I fought it, though I wanted everything to do with what you gave to me. Loosening my grip.
All right, so as I mentioned in the intro today, I'm talking about the Hest Double Comforter. Now, as I mentioned, they make a single and a double. The biggest difference is basically just in the weight. Obviously, the weight, the stuff sack size is going to be different, and the overall size of it is going to be different too. The single, smaller, right? It's only about 50 inches across, whereas this is about 80. I'm going to open this thing up. I'm going to show it to you in all its glory, but I'm going to start with the stuff sack size. So as far as weight goes for the double, I'm going to be talking specifically about the double here today because that's what I went with. So when my wife comes with me, I've got it, and if she's not with me, I've just got plenty of room to stretch out and be comfortable, right? So the double weighs in at about 3 3/4 pounds, so call it just under 4 pounds weight-wise, and the stuff sack itself is about 9 inches across by about 14 inches tall. So just so you know, from a storage standpoint, that is about how big this thing is. Now, one thing that I do like is it has this sort of like mesh pocket on the side of it here, so you could put stuff down in here if you had, you know, a pillow or little stuff that you needed to store or that you wanted to always have with your blanket, then you could keep that in this little mesh pocket, which is just a nice thoughtful thing that they included with it. It's also got a grab handle on the bottom, so it makes picking it up and moving it around really easy. And then at the top here, it's got sort of a drawstring style closing method. So let's open this up and take this thing out. All right, so for the blanket itself, again, this is a double, so there's a lot of fabric here, right? This thing's pretty big. As far as the material that it's made out of, it is made out of polyester. It has 650 fill duck down on the inside, so it's going to be extremely warm. It's got some cool features, which I'm going to show you here in a second, but again, just kind of getting through the specs here. So as far as the blanket itself goes, again, being polyester, it is made of a material that is water resistant, hydrophobic, so it's not going to absorb water. Same with the down inside. So it's really meant to be used outdoors. It's meant to be good in all conditions, but then it's also going to resist staining, scents, water, all that good stuff, which is what you want when you're outside, right? Now, let me hold this thing up. Now, this is a double again, so it's going to be big. So the dimensions of the double are basically 88 inches long by 80 inches across. As I mentioned earlier, the single is basically the same length, but it's only about 50 inches across. You just get a single person sized blanket instead of a double, right? Which makes sense. It's one thing that I want to point out that you can't see through the video here, but I want to just tell you my impressions here as I'm holding this thing. A lot of these blankets that I've had that are for like camping and things like that, they feel really thin. They feel sort of chintzy, almost more like a sleeping bag than like a blanket. This feels like a comforter for your house. Like that's what it feels like to me, but it's still super light. I mean, under 4 pounds for this whole double blanket, but it feels just really super nice and comfy and warm and heavy duty, which I really, really like. So, but one of the coolest things about this blanket is the cinch system that they've built into it. So this is your foot box, right? So think about the bottom where your feet are going to go. You're laying on your mattress in your rooftop tent, let's say, and with a blanket like this, being polyester material, it's slicker, right? So it tends to slide off and sort of, you wake up, I do at least, I wake up a million times in the middle of the night and I'm like, my feet are cold. Oh, my sleeping bag has fallen off me, or my blanket has fallen off me, right? With this cinch system though, you can basically pull this string And when you do that, you'll see that this fabric starts to pinch up. So you can put this around the bottom of your mattress that you're sleeping on in your rooftop tent, and then pull this tight, and it will cinch around it, and it will basically protect you from drafts, and it'll also keep it in place so that you don't wake up in the middle of the night with this thing across the tent, right? Across your rooftop tent sitting on the other side, totally gone. You can cinch it down around your mattress, which is awesome. And then to loosen it, there's just this little pull strap here that you pull on, and then that allows, basically loosens up the device in there so that cinch can go back through and loosen up. But the nice thing about it operation wise is you literally just have to pull on this little toggle. You don't have to do anything. It retains its position when you pull on it. It just stays there until you pull this release strap, which is really cool. I like how simple it is. I like how easy it is to use. And I like the fact that it will cinch around my mattress. Now, again, I went through the dimensions 9x14 for the double in the sack that it comes with. That is pretty large, right? Now, if you're overlanding and you're camping and stuff, you should have plenty of room in your vehicle. But if you don't, my plan is to keep this in my rooftop tent from like fall through winter. So I'm just going to leave it up there along with my sleeping bag because it's big and it can be spread out. It doesn't take up a ton of room. So even if you have a hard shell rooftop tent like I do, this thing should still fit up there no problem just because of the nature of what it is. Right now, if you rolled it down and stuff, then you may have trouble closing it up in your tent. But I'm confident that just leaving it, you know, laid out across my whole mattress, this thing will fit in there no problem. And then this will give me just a ton of extra warmth. So if my sleeping bag isn't enough, if it gets really cold, you can have this thing in there too. And you may not even need something like a diesel heater or heated blanket or anything like that, because this thing is going to give you so much extra warmth on top of your sleeping bag or whatever you've already got in your tent. All right, so I'm actually going to take it up into the rooftop tent here, and I'm just going to kind of show you guys. So I have an open road, which is a pretty standard, like 7 foot by 4 foot across wedge style rooftop tent. So probably a lot of you have similar tents to this. So again, I just want to show you, what the Hest looks like thrown out in there and kind of how it fits in there. All right, so as you can see, I've got my Hest foamy in here, and I've got my Hest pillow, which is my favorite pillow, and I love it. And then I've got my Sea to Summit 0 degree bag. Now, I keep my 0 degree bag in my tent year round because I tend to mostly go in fall and winter. And even in the summer, you can always, just lay it out and lay on top of it or, not really use it. I would always rather have more protection, more warmth if I need it than less. And then, I'm up here with a 15 degree bag or a 40 degree bag and it gets really cold one night. So again, my thought is I'm going to put the Hest blanket up here, have this in here all the time too. The other thing is with my rooftop tent and me being solo most of the time, I just leave the Hest foamy up here all the time, which gives me all this room onto the side. So I pulled out the stock mattress, left the condensation mat, and then I have the Hest foamy in here. But so then with all this extra room, basically got 4 inches by, call it 12 or 14 inches to the side of the mattress. That should be plenty of room for the comforter to stay in here year round and not be a problem. So let's throw this thing out and kind of take a look at what that looks like. So, as you can see, I've got it pretty much thrown across here. I want to make sure that it's all actually spread all the way out. But so, in a sort of standard 7 foot by 4 foot, this is the double, right? So if I had another mattress over here, or sometimes when my wife comes, we will pull the Hest mattress out, unfortunately, because I've only got the one 30-inch wide foamy. We'll pull that out and put the stock mattress back in. And when we do that sometimes, then this blanket will definitely fit perfectly on that. But so you've got plenty of room. The thing about it too is I like that it's a little big because I want to not have to worry about, pulling the blanket off my wife when we're camping or her pulling it off of me when we're camping. I want it to be a little bit bigger versus smaller. I feel like a lot of companies always go super small and they don't give you a ton of space. They're just trying to save a couple bucks, right, on their manufacturing costs. So having this size of blanket means I could tuck it down around the sides of the mattress. I could tuck it down and cinch the feet box down around the bottom of the mattress as well, so that it stays put. And then it's going to be like, again, sleeping in your home bed, right? So it's not going to feel like you're sleeping in the woods. It's going to feel more like you're sleeping at home and you're super comfy, which is awesome. And Hest is amazing at that. All right, so it's going to get down into the 30s tonight. So I'm going to zip this up, and then tonight I'm going to be using it and testing it. But I'm excited to see how it does. If it's like any of the other Hest stuff, I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. All right, guys, so that was the Hest Double Comforter. This thing is super simple, but amazingly well made. And I love the feature of the sort of cinchable feet and the fact that it's really large, the fact that it gives you a ton of space. So if you do have two adult humans sharing this thing, right, in a sleeping bag, in a rooftop tent, I can tell you what the fight for blankets is like, especially when it drops into the 30s and 20s, right? So you roll over and then the other person loses all their blankets. It happens at home, and it happens specifically in the rooftop tent because of how small most of these blankets are. So again, having 88 by 80 inches worth of room from the Hest is amazing. It just gives you so much space for activities, so much space for warmth, and just comfort, right? Which again is the biggest thing about this Hest stuff. And I know you guys are going to go to the description down below. You're going to click on that link and you're going to look at the price and be like, it's hundreds of dollars, right? And that is true. But I'm telling you, I've had so many sleeping bags, cheap blankets, heated blankets, but I bought the $50 one or the $40 one that's a no-name brand that broke after the second time I used it, or was 40 inches tall, so it only went up to like my waist, right? Like, there is a reason that these cheap ones are cheap, and there's a reason that the Hest stuff is expensive. There's also a reason why the Hest stuff has such a good name in the industry, specifically camping and overlanding, because their stuff is just top-notch, right? So again, super excited about this double comforter. Going to be using it tonight, and excited to be warm instead of having to worry about staying inside of my sleeping bag and huddled up like a mummy. I'm going to be kind of spread out and just nice and comfy. So I hope that was helpful for you. I hope that gave you some good info. If you haven't seen this blanket before, again, there's a single, there's a double. I'll put links to both of them in the description below so you can find which one's right for you. But I would never hesitate to recommend the Hest stuff just because it's so dang good. So again, hope that's helpful. As always, in the description below are links to all my social channels. So wherever you want to come hang out, I'd love to have you. There's also a link to my website where I've got funny overlanding camping themed patches and stickers. So if you want a patch for your headliner or a sticker for your fridge or your windows or whatever, there's tons of options down there. They're all related to camping, overlanding, that sort of thing. There's some merch stuff too for all things overlanding too if you want that. So check that link out. Also below this video is a join button, and that join button is just a passive way to support the channel, but it also gets you early access to the videos. You get some other cool perks too. So if you're looking for a way to just say thanks for the videos, I enjoy them, I'm learning from them, whatever, that's a good way to do it. That also gets you some perks. Then if you want a more active way to be involved with all things overlanding, we've also got a Patreon group where we have a 24/7 Discord, and we all kind of chat about our rigs and our gear. We do a once a month Zoom call where we hang out and drink a beer and just see how life is going and hang out. And then we're doing 1 or 2 trips a year just to meet up in person, sit around a campfire, and tell stories and hang out. So if that sounds good, check out the Patreon. And then last but not least, there is the Newbie Overlanders Facebook page. Totally free to join, over 20,000 members, but different from the other big groups where there's no bullying, right? Like the whole purpose of it is for people to come, ask questions, be helpful to each other, and not be total jerks. So if you're looking for a place to learn about overlanding and you're kind of tired of the big groups, that may be a good place for you, and we'd love to have you. But again, thanks so much for watching. Hope that was helpful, and we'll see you next time.